Live watch-alongs on the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel. We also have graphics on our YouTube channel so you can see where the legs are heading, where the darts are going, and how the leg is progressing with our graphics on screen to go with our watch-alongs. So all 7 ties with us tonight. Laura Turner is also going to be part of our commentary team. She will join Scott for the second of the quarterfinals tonight, which is a biggie. Michael van Gerwen against Luke Littler. Before we even get into Aspinall Humphries first, we have to talk about MVG's form of the weekend, Scott, at the German Darts Grand Prix in Munich. Hit a 9-darter. One of his matches, I think the round of 16 or the quarterfinal against Ryan Joyce, he was perfect on the outer ring, hitting 6 from 6. Wow, what a transformation from somebody who's had his weeks in the Premier League where he's looked like he's been struggling.
Well, Dan, we spoke about a week ago going, is he at the end now? Is he at the end? He was doing 85 averages in the Pro Tour the week before last Premier League. We were looking at him saying he's going to have to knuckle down and find some work from somewhere. He opened up and said there's a slight injury. He's been playing with a slight difference. Everybody keeps saying his throw is different. He can't go back to his old throw because of the way that he has a little injury. So he said, you've all got to put up with it, the same as I've got to put up with it. Comes back with something massive at the weekend at the German Darts Open. And you kind of think, he's back, he's reinvented himself, and he's really in with a shout now. These guys know who won at the weekend. A couple of them missed out at the weekend, so difficult to say whether he's beat the full field at the European Tour, but we'll find out tonight when he plays that second match, and he's up against the best in the world at the moment.
And we've been talking about scheduling and darts players being a bit more selective about where they go. Only 3 of the 8 players in the Premier League are going to Graz tomorrow for the Austrian Darts Open, and that's Chris Dobey, Stephen Bunting and Nathan Aspinall. Aspinall's up first tonight, and he's, talk about injury problems, he's had enormous injury problems to contend with, but he's such a fighter, Nathan, isn't he?
Absolutely, and you notice it's the younger ones from the Premier League that are going on to play in Graz at the weekend. Also, we had 4 from last week that didn't go and play in the German Darts Open. Humphries, Aspinall, Dobey and Bunting were all not involved in the last Euro Tour last weekend. So, yes, we did say that the players are now going to have to start picking and choosing where they're going. We are now at that stage where we're 3 months into the season, 3 and a bit months in, and the players are now doing exactly what we said last week they would have to do.
Yeah, it's been very sensible, I think, from most concerned. And as I say, only 3 of the 8 are going to be flying off to Austria tomorrow. Of course, they won't play tomorrow. The first round tomorrow doesn't involve the seeds. They come in for Saturday afternoon's action and onwards in another Euro Tour event. So Nathan Aspinall's up against Luke Humphries first of all. Let me remind you of the situation with the table, because Luke Littler is top on 30 points with 4 nightly wins. Then you've got Luke Humphries 23 points with 2 nightly wins. Then Nathan Aspinall, he's handily placed before he takes on Cool Hand in this first quarterfinal. 17 points, so he's 6 behind Humphries, just the 1 nightly win, but he really fought for that. And then you've got this scrap between them, Scott. Gerwyn Price, 15 points. Michael van Gerwen, just the wrong side of the dotted line, 15 points. And Dobey, with that nightly win in Rotterdam, has suddenly moved up to 12 points to make it interesting for him. How do you see it panning out? Is it impossible to say at this point?
I think it is. I think that we've getting to that stage of the season now where there could be a little bit of a slippery time for some of them. We're getting towards the end. There's only a few left. Some know they're running out of games and running out of nights to get up that table. Some will be playing with a bit of freedom because they feel they're safe and they're home and hosed. I think it's all about who grabs what opportunities come their way tonight. And I see this as an important night in gauging the way to the end of the season, because like you say, there's only 4 or 5 left, and we're just running out of matches for some to get back in that top 4.
So Humphries Aspinall first up. Then we've got Littler against MVG. The third quarterfinal tonight is Rob Cross against the local hero Stephen Bunting. And I think when they start playing David Guetta and Sia through the old PA system at the M&S Bank Arena, it's going to pop, as they say in wrestling terminology, for Bunting.
Yeah, I think the only way it could have been louder if he came out of some sort of Beatles track in Liverpool. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I think, you know, Liverpool as a city absolutely love their sporting stars, and Stephen Bunting is right up there amongst one of them, and you know, he's as big up in Liverpool as some of the Liverpool players themselves are. So let's not forget that. And they always want, and they look after their own up there, don't they? They always want them to do well.
They do. And he won week 9 in Berlin. Let's not forget. He last beat Cross, though, 3 years ago, back in the European Tour in 2022. So it's one of those wonderful quirky statistics where one player has a bit of a hex over the other. In this case, it's Cross over Bunty.
Yeah, but you haven't ruled into the equation. There's nothing like playing at home, mate. He's been sleeping in his own bed. You know, all the others are in and out of hotels. It does make a difference, I can tell you.
And our fourth quarter-final to set up the semis will be Gerwyn Price against Chris Dobey. Dobey, the victor in Rotterdam last week, found his 180 hitting, but his doubles percentage started to creep up as well, because that's been Dobey's problem so far in this Premier League, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And we get the weekly averages and how their averages are running. And last week, Dobey went sky high on his. He upped his averages on his running average for the series. And so that sort of states to me that he's starting to be in good form, because once you've already played 10, it's very difficult to lift that average over 10 nights in one night.
Yeah.
And he managed to do that last week. So we know he's on a bit of form. You know he's going to have a bit of confidence coming from that. And I think that I was listening to the odds earlier. I thought he was a good bet.
He does sound a good bet. I mean, we could conceivably have a night where things really tighten up between the top two and the rest of the field. Let's imagine, for the sake of argument, Bunty wins and beats Dobey in the final. Bunty could move on to 13 points. Dobey could move on to 15, and it could be really, really tight up there.
Yeah, it really could. But I just don't see, I can't see tonight both Littler and Humphries having an off night. I just can't see it. I think the last 4 weeks, I think Humphries has been in 2 finals. You know, we're still calling him out of form because he lost first game last week. You know, he's still there and thereabouts. I think we're ruling him out at our peril. But I do think that one of those two, Littler or Humphries, the two Lukes, will have a say in something tonight.
Well, Luke Littler won last year's Premier League event at the M&S Bank Arena, beat Rob Cross in the final with a 105 average. It's fairly typical for Luke, I guess, although he was one of those players that tried to counteract the tricking conditions in Rotterdam last week, and Laura Turner, who's part of our team tonight, was there in Rotterdam working for television, and said that you could sense a draft. There are double doors either side of the stage, and only one more door leads you to outside, and it didn't take much for a through draft. But some players just block it out and play through it, and some have it in their head before they've even stepped onto the stage.
There's a history of it happening at Rotterdam, isn't there? I think all the players tell all each other, you know, varying venues that they love to play and hate. And that one's going round now as one of the players they really don't enjoy. They love the crowd, they loved everything about it. But this whole draft situation was in players' heads before they got there. We know that Littler took on a 26-gram dart instead of his usual weight of dart to try and carve his way through the air. It seems that if you throw your dart with a little bit of sideways motion in your throw, the draft seems to catch up with it. Other players have said it made no difference to their throw. They didn't feel it. So I think it's all about how you throw, how hard you throw, what power you throw with, and the equipment you're throwing with, whether it affects it or not.
Yeah, even Bunty, who's got these very light darts, they used to be even lighter, but he has increased the weight of his dart. Because he throws it with a bit of violence, then even very light darts like Bunty's can counteract any potential drafts up there.
Yeah, he does throw it like he's got his big girl's underwear on, doesn't he? He throws it proper. So, I mean, that's what you've got to remember. And I think that's part of why, if you're a bit of a floater and you're a bit of a caresser of the dart, then that's when the draft issues come into problems.
Yeah, I can think of a few that turned up in the first round of the World Championships with very interesting throws. And some going back. Justin Pipe used to have a throw that was very airy, wasn't it? And it used to loop in the air and almost do somersaults before it hit the board, didn't it? Justin, the way he threw the darts. But you've got 8 players tonight who don't appear to have any concerns with drafts around the M&S Bank Arena. Different setup in Liverpool, and Luke Littler looking to defend the night he won at this venue last year. Although he might have to endure a little bit more grief. Stephen Bunting was telling Hawksby and Jacobs yesterday that, you know, he may get a bit more bird than he might have got now that everyone's used to him. But what strikes me about Littler, you may think different, Scott Mitchell, is that he's actually become really comfortable with being on the stage and maybe being the heel rather than the face and just getting on with his job.
Yeah, I think the thing with the game is, if you're good at darts and you want to play in front of people, you want to play in front of big audiences, so you've got to deal with what comes to you. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I think he's been on social media this week saying he's expected it to be bad this week, but that's mainly because he's a Man United fan and he's walking out into the heart of Liverpool, amongst the Liverpool faithful. So I don't care who you are. I think if he'd have been an Everton fan, he'd have still got it and still lived in the town. It's just the way of the world, isn't it?
Seems to be, but Littler seems to be impervious to that sort of stuff. Of course, Gerwyn Price, I thought he was impervious, so he stuck the old ear defenders on at Ali Pali a couple of years back, which was one of the strangest things I've ever seen on a darting stage. But even Gerwyn's managed to get over that hump of being the heel and being the pantomime villain, and he doesn't get half as much as he used to get from darts audiences, which can only be a good thing.
Well, I think the darts audiences kind of won, didn't they? He's had to tone a few things down a little to make him a little bit more audience friendly, I think is the word.
Yes. One of the other upshots of the German Darts Grand Prix at the weekend, some of the form of the other younger players really starting to interest me. Jan van Veen reached the final, ended up losing to MVG. Josh Rock, again, the Northern Irishman, looked in scintillating form before he went out in the semi-finals. And these are two players we're certain to be commentating on when talkSPORT 2 heads to the World Match Play at Blackpool in July. It's fantastic to see these young players with no fear and sort of following Luke's lead, really. Littler, that is.
It is. I mean, the thing is that the financial dangle of the carrot is the thing. You know, these guys, if they were in, run-of-the-mill jobs, they would not be earning anywhere near what they're earning now. And I mean, we can talk about MVG and what he did at the weekend. He was knocking out guys like Ryan Searle, like Ryan Joyce, as you said, Josh Rock. These are all guys that have got eyes like dinner plates and on the prize at the moment, and they're playing exceedingly well, which is what makes Michael's achievement at the weekend so much more better for him. You know, he's turned the corner, he thinks. We all know as dart players it takes more than one tournament to help you turn the corner, but it really does. You can lose your confidence in one tournament and it takes 4 or 5 to get that confidence back, so one won't do it. If he has a good night here tonight, he'd be well on the way.
Humphries Aspinall coming up shortly, by the way, for you on talkSPORT 2 and the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel. Just one, Raymond van Barneveld's had his say on the way that prize money is divvied up, saying that players in the first round and the 64 don't get the prize money is too heavily weighted towards the seeds. What's your view on that, Scott?
It was 10 years ago when Raymond was a seed and I was a wannabe, so I've got no sympathy whatsoever.
Beautifully put. So 4 quarterfinals coming up, and then the 2 semis in the final. So the winner of Humphries Aspinall will face the winner of MVG Littler, and then the winner of Cross Bunting will take on the winner of Price Dobey for the right to lift the trophy in Liverpool. MVG won it in 2023. Johnny Clayton, who's not part of the Premier League this year, he won it in 2022. He, of course, is number 1 seed for the Austrian Darts Grand Prix at the weekend, looking to defend, an awful lot of prize money. But I'm glad to see the Ferret getting back to his best, because he's looked good lately when he looked to be really struggling at the start of the year.
Look, he's one of the good guys, and he always has been. He was the one that, when everybody was telling him he needed to give up his job as a plasterer for the council, and he kept on and on and on. And yeah, when he then left his job, it was a bit of a burden, because you've got no financial security there, week in, week out. It's taken him a little time to get used to that. He's one of the nice guys in sport, and it's just so good. It's so nice to see him back near the top.
I think losing his father was quite a big blow to his psyche at the time. He was playing, I think, through the World Championship when his father was very, very ill. Showed such tenacity to get as far as he did. You can hear the dulcet tones of our MC, John McDonald, behind us at the M&S Bank Arena, whipping the crowd up, and as usual, looking around the venue, it is extraordinarily packed to the rafters in Liverpool. awaiting the first two gladiators to enter the arena. We talk about walk-on tunes, with Stephen Bunting going to get a rapturous reception for David Guetta and Sia. Well, there are not many better walk-ons of dart players than the man who's just about to make his way down the ramp towards the stage. Nathan Aspinall, not from too far down. He's probably been sleeping in his own bed the past couple of days, since he's only from Stockport.
Yeah, definitely. He has the advantage of that as well. Because the guys will want to go home. They don't want to sleep in hotels, but they don't need to.
I bet there are some players that absolutely love the hotel life and love the somewhat nomadic lifestyle, yet there are some that do love their home comfort. So I remember Nathan Aspinall coming into our talkSPORT commentary box in the first World Championship we did at the back end of 2017-2018, and he was delighted to get, because that was his breakthrough year in the world, but he was looking forward to getting home over Christmas and having Christmas dinner with his nan and just the simple home comforts with his family. That was foremost in his mind.
Sometimes it is just the simplest things that make these top stars tick.
Where you can hear the Killers and Mr. Brightside thumping through the PA system in Liverpool, and the crowd are louder than the music, although it's fading out now, and they'll just keep the chorus going at ridiculous volumes. Conducted, of course, by Aspinall on the stage. One of these days I'll learn the lyrics. I don't know the lyrics to this one, but they all do. There's no karaoke. Lyrics aren't popping up on a giant screen for them, they're just ready.
Yeah, you won't learn the lyrics listening to that ABBA album that you've got going, Dance.
Oh, I like a bit of ABBA, I like a bit of Arrival. And that's one of the albums I grew up on, thanks to my dear old mum and dad. So we move from the Killers to the Kaiser Chiefs, and the reigning world #1 and former world champion Luke Humphries, ready at the end of the walkway, and he'll be a delighted young man as his team, Leeds United, are back in the Premier League. They confirmed it on Easter Monday. You heard it on your home with the EFL talkSPORT 2 as they brushed Stoke City aside by 6-0. And the man whose Christian name was given to him by his father, Leeds United Kings of Europe, Luke, very deliberate from Mr. Humphries Senior. And Humphries on the stage taking the acclaim. The pyrotechnics go off, and we're about to get underway here on talkSPORT 2 for night 12 of the Premier League. There's plenty in the Luke Humphries replica shirts. They do a roaring trade at those merchandise stores. When I walk around at Ali Pali, so many people buying those fake Peter Wright mohawks and things like that. And of course the one that flies off the shelves these days is the purple Luke the Nuke shirt that you can buy. But wow, the merchandise, there's a roaring trade at these events.
Yeah, it sure does, and they're able to buy the merchandise of their favourite players, and being in the Premier League, it thrusts you to the top of the media world, and probably a massive media spotlight for the first 5 months of the year on these 8 guys.
Indeed, but they are good pals, these two, from different management stables. Luke Humphries looks like he's won the bull backstage, so he will get the first leg underway once they finish their practice starts. They get 9 practice starts each up on the stage before we can get underway, and suddenly a kind of hush falls over the M&S Bank Arena. Charlie Courstefine's going to be our referee. You'll hear his dulcet tones in just a minute whilst the two protagonists finish off their practice throws. Luke Humphries does have the best average of the Premier League 2025 so far. That was in Manchester, just up the East Lancs Road from here, against Stephen Bunting, 118.4. Final practice darts look like they're done and dusted.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. gentlemen, first player gets loose to throw first.
So we're underway when Humphries does indeed have the darts. It's a race to 6, remember, in every Premier League match. Straight knockout. And Humphries actually has a trebleless visit to get things started. Went for a treble 18 and only hit single 4. Aspinall with this really aggressive style. Lots of moving parts, lots of moving of the foot. But he gets the job done. It's better from Humphries on this second visit. 2 treble visit. And so he's settled down into this leg.
Yeah, him and Rob Cross both have sort of fairly straightforward, difficult throws. They throw with such ferocity that you wonder how long the body can take it at the rate that they're playing. They're playing so often, and surely they're going to have more injury woes in their darting career as it goes along.
And when you watch somebody like Humphries, whose throw is much more economical and smoother, and it does just bring it more sharply into focus just how many moving parts there are in the Aspinall throw. 250 plays 240 after 6 darts apiece.
59.
And another trebleless visit for Humphries. So Aspinall against the throw. He's got a chance here, Scott Mitchell.
Yeah, he has early doors, but I think he's going to have to hit a couple of trebles here, a couple of treble visit of decent note, and he's actually done that with a 1-3-4.
2 lovely pickoffs of treble 19, taking him down to 116. So Humphries will get down to a finish, but he's down to an even 100. So 116 for Aspinall to break.
Yeah, 116 is a nice number for players to go at. It's 2 stabs at the treble 20 or 2 stabs at the treble 19. And this is the fear when you go down to the 19, you go under it. Now trying to manoeuvre his way around it is Aspinall. It hasn't happened. He's got 38 scored in the board, 78 left. Goes across the treble 18, hits the smack bang centre, but he's now in the hands of Luke Humphries, missing this 100. Hits the treble 20 beautifully, and then smack bang centre of the double top. 1-0 Humphries.
Well, that was a great hold in the end for the world number 1, but Aspinall will be grimacing knowing that he had a chance there and elected to go for the 19s rather than the 20s, as Scott mentioned there before that visit. So into leg 2, race to 6. Another 2 treble visit for Humphries. Both these players lost to Chris Dobey last week on his march to victory in Rotterdam. He beat Humphries in the quarterfinals, and then Aspinall in the semi-finals. Dobey's up last of the quarterfinals tonight, up against Gerwyn Price.
Yeah, well, the way that it works on the draw, like it's 16 players, 8 players over 16 weeks. They'll all play in a position in the league table, playing first, second, or third, second name or first. They'll all get the equal share of it, which is why it's 8 players over 16 weeks, to try and keep it as fair as possible for all the players.
45.
Another troublous visit for Humphries, and he just shakes his head as he retrieves the darts from the board. Just having a chat to himself. Aspinall at the hockey, 210 less these. He should get down to a finish and will with a steady ton. It's his throw, remember, in leg 2, Aspinall. Humphries took the first leg, and he's trying to come down from 2-3-3 and looking for 9 19s for 171 to set up a 2-dart kill. Aspinall under pressure again with a ton plus checkout required.
Yeah, Aspinall on the throw here. Humphries turns the throw around with those 3 treble 19s perfectly. Aspinall now 18 for 32. He's going to get 1 dart.
He's inside by about half an inch as well.
Yeah, head-to-head between these two so far in the Premier League series. It's 2-1 in the favour of Humphries. And it's 2-0 now on the night. Humphries breaks Aspinall's throw.
He ended up from 62 hitting single 6, but recovered with 16 tops to break the throw. So he's 100% from his doubles. Not quite getting his first maximum there, Humphries, at the start of leg 3. We saw Michael van Gerwen in Munich perfect on the outer ring. 6 from 6 against Ryan Joyce. Really looked like he was up for it, MVG. And he said he really needed it when he was speaking on stage after the win at the weekend. Everyone knows the problems he's had, but he felt he needed it. And who knows what that could spur him onto for the rest of the year.
And what you have to remember, the spotlight's not just been on him for 10 minutes. It's probably been on him for 15, 20 years. And the way that he deals with it is sensational. It really is. You know, sometimes you'll meet him and you'll feel he's a bit grumpy, but he keeps getting asked the same questions for 20 years, and it does grate you a little bit.
Yep, he's a straight talker, MVG. Don't ask him foolish questions. Ask a silly question, get a silly answer. There's our first maximum, popped in by Aspinall to get down to 41 after 9 darts, but here comes Humphries. 140 for him, but Aspinall can break back here. 9 for double 16 is the outshot for the Asp. He's hit the single 9 right in the centre of the bed. Double 16 hits that, and he's broken back. Nathan Aspinall 2-1 the score in a race to 6 here on talkSPORT 2.
Yeah, now it only really counts as a break if he can hold his own throw. If he doesn't hold his own throw here, you can't really count it as a break. You've got to hit 2 in a row, so that's his aim now, and we know that Humphries has been brilliant against the throw on the one time that he's had a go. So for some reason, as a dart player, you can relax against the throw, and you seem to tense up a little bit when you're on throw because you know it's very important to hold.
Again, Aspinall looking for a max, just dips below with the third dart, under pitches into small 20. Yeah, it's 12-9 in favour of Luke Humphries in the head-to-heads, but Aspinall's won 2 of the last 3, and Humphries suddenly pops in his first maximum of the night, putting pressure on the Aspinall throw. As you said, it's only a good break if you can then hold your throw and bring things back level. And Aspinall hits 95 to get down to a finish, but it is the big fish of 170 that he will need when he comes back. Oh, meanwhile Humphries so close to another max, but drops short of the third dart.
Yeah, and let's not forget, both these guys were off last weekend on the German Darts Grand Prix, so they should be fresher maybe a little bit more than the others. They've geared themselves for this evening.
First darts in, treble 20 for the 170 with the second. Dips just below, and Aspinall grimaces at the board and then picks off a 25.
Yeah, we had 6 170s so far this year, didn't quite make it to 7th.
Humphries misses tops for the first time tonight, off 82, so Aspinall to level it up. 65, 25 for tops, he's hit the 25, 2 darts in hand for Nathan Aspinall, a double top, and he's only needing the 1, and we're all square at 2-2 on talkSPORT 2.
Yeah,
so it was a worthwhile
3.
break.
Yeah, absolutely, counts as a break.
But Humphries pops in a max, and both players averaging over a ton here. This is really good stuff from both players.
Comfortably over a ton, aren't they? Really enjoying playing one another. Like I say, the head-to-head is 2-1 towards Humphries. Aspinall's trying to level that up as well.
Well, 4 perfect darts from Humphries, but the 5th drifts into single 1. Good readjustment, but the 9 darter is not on. And we've been spoilt with the number of 9 darters we've had this year. The sponsors issuing a golden dart to anybody that pulls off the perfect leg. And Luke Humphries has got one, Luke Littler's got one, Gerwyn Price has got one, MVG has got one. Who else has got one?
It's a couple, yeah, it's 4, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's 4, yeah. A couple at Brighton, 1 at Cardiff,
yeah,
and 1 at Manchester.
And of course MVG got one at the German Darts Grand Prix at the weekend in his demolition of Ryan Searle. And Humphries takes the 5th leg with tops, and Aspinall has a look. Did that really go in? Because it was hidden. It was right in the bottom corner of the double top bed.
Yeah, the dart didn't go in at the usual Humphries angle that we know and love, that sort of 45 degree to the board. It caught the other flight, went in at 90 degrees, a little bit flat, very unusual dart. Aspinall asked the question and he said, "Don't ask me, ask the referee."
Humphries back in the red bit. You're listening to Premier League Darts here on talkSPORT 2 live in partnership with Village Hotels. Dine out, stay, work out and play. Just visit villagehotels.com. And we're into leg 6 of this first quarter-final of the night. Luke Humphries of Newbury in Berkshire, the world number 1, former world champion. 3-2 up on Nathan Aspinall. It's Aspinall's throw in leg 6. And he's got some work to do to try and keep pace with Humphries, but after a poor first start, 125 is a great readjustment from the Asp.
Yeah, it's such a high-scoring game. These guys have been doing it all year. Aspinall's got 66 180s in the Premier League this year before we started this evening, and Humphries had 62, and they were the two closest to Luke Littler, who's right up there on 122, a country mile ahead.
And Humphries, before the start of the night, has the second best checkout percentage. 140 from Aspinall gets him down to a finish of 76. But the big fish is on for Humphries. No, it's not. Second dart really underpitched. Hit the bullseye anyway to leave himself on tops. What can Aspinall do from 76 here, Scott Mitchell?
Well, he's getting chances, Aspinall. He's playing well to get chances, but 76 is can be a little pop finish if he can hit the treble, which is what he's done. He's now on double eight. It's his favourite side of the board, straight in double eight, in the top half, not back smack bang centre, but in is in, and he won't care about that. He levels up at 3-3.
Not quite a pop finish, because of course Aspinall likes to take his time. If he set up the double, he just resets himself rather than moving quickly from dart to dart. But we are all square. Both players still averaging, actually nearly 110, both of them. Aspinall is now over 110 as he pops in a max. Brilliant darts from both players. Sensational start in Liverpool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the double percentages that are impressive me. Their running percentages are 41 and 37 respectively. Both running at the moment 75%.
Fantastic work from both players. Nathan beat Luke in the Manchester final just a couple of weeks ago when he really battled his way to the 5 points. But he lost the opener in week 1, the very first game in Belfast, to Luke Humphries, and the semi-final in Newcastle in week 8. Aspinall. A rare trebleless visit is this for the Asp? No, he pinched treble 18 as he went around the board, but Humphries to hold throw hits treble 20, double 19 for a 98 finish, and the outer ring continues to be punished by both players.
I'm wondering what the outer ring has done wrong to both of them. They both seem to be absolutely nailing it to the board. There's no problem with it and no issue with it. But the thing is, I think when you play each other in this particular start of the evening, you're opening the show and you know there's going to be a little bit of nerves, but there seems to be none of it tonight. They know how important it is. They both won a few points. They both are in form, and I think the whole climax of this Premier League season is going to be brilliant. That was the 500th tournament 180 in the series. This is unbelievable from 8 players.
Wow, just stunning darts to start the night. And Humphries trying to pressurise the Aspinall throw. He's 4-3 up, Luke Humphries, and down to 187 after 6 darts. Aspinall does pick up a trebleless visit this time with just 57, so Humphries has the chance to go 5-3 up here, and coming down from 187 hits 171 to leave himself on double 8 for a 5-3 lead. Brilliant darts again from Coolhand.
Yeah, sensational visit from Coolhand. 3 trebles on the treble 19, leaving them this opportunity on double 8.
Just outside, good marker. Oh, he's pinned the wire on the outside, but the third one does go in. And Humphries, he's got a proper looky-likey out there in the crowd. Suddenly goes 5-3 up. I hope that guy's getting some work out of it.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be daft enough to be in the crowd while Luke was on the telly, would you?
I suppose not, no. And Luke 5-3 up, needing 1 for victory. Nice 140 to get things going. He's averaging 1-1-3. I mentioned that his best average is the best average of the tournament so far. 1-1-8 against Bunting in Manchester a couple of weeks ago. And he's not too far from that here. And he's back in the red bit again, Humphries, with a 140 again. 2 140s in a row. And Aspinall really having to fight and scrap and snarl to stay with the former world champion.
Yeah, the power pack of scoring has just come up on screen for us, and 10 ton plus shots and 11 140s for Humphries, and that's kind of showing why he's 5-3 up, with Aspinall only having 11 and then the 4 140s. He's 7 behind in the 140 stakes, and that's probably why he's 5-3 down.
97.
Well, he's got down to 90 to 207, but 81 for the match for Humphries. Went for treble 10 having hit single 19, but he's just laying it up for double 16 for the match because he knows Aspinall can't take out 207. But a good visit of 133 from Aspinall. But for the match, double 16, only needed one dart. Brilliant start from Luke Humphries, and even though Nathan Aspinall averaged over a ton himself in losing 6-3, 1-1-3 average from Coolhand, just a shade underneath the best average of these championships so far. I think what you said earlier in the commentary, Scott Mitchell, both players opting to sit out the German Darts Grand Prix, relaxed, refreshed, and they brought that here to Liverpool and gave us a scintillating opening quarter-final.
Yeah, I totally agree. Humphries, I feel, needed that. He had a poor week in his terms last week. He needed to bounce back from that. He's done that already this evening, and he'll be feeling good about himself with such a big ton-plus average.
So he's guaranteed a couple of points at least, is Luke Humphries, by virtue of that 6-3 win. So that's the first quarter-final done and dusted. Well, joining Scott Mitchell next in our commentary box will be Laura Turner, and they will guide you through a mouth-watering second quarter-final between the defending champion from last year's event in Liverpool, Luke Littler, and the man who won the German Darts Grand Prix last weekend in such style, Michael van Gerwen. That is up next on your home of Darts on the Radio, talkSPORT 2. And when it comes to the Darts Premier League, the last thing you want is an online mishap throwing you off your game. That's when NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro steps up to the oche. Just think of it as your personal referee, keeping dodgy websites, malware and phishing scams from sneaking into your setup. It even blocks those pesky ads so you won't get distracted mid-leg. All you have to do is go to nordvpn.com/dartsvpn and you'll get 2 years plus 4 months free, and you get a birthday deal as well. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Our next watch-along coming up next. Find it on the talkSPORT Darts YouTube channel page. Click on Littler MVG, and Laura and Scott will bring you that game next.